Okay, our lesson today requires of you to send me an email or a private message. So I'm going to give you my email up front here. It's also on the Facebook page. But you can also send me a message through Twitter, the direct message, or through the Facebook private messenger. Do not use Instagram because they don't send me messages usually for about a week. And I'm about ready to drop that goofy app because it's now taking over 2 hours every day to post the messages because it crashes. So I always have to have the app controls open to shut it down and dump the memory, yada, 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 every single day. And that gets old. So my email is sillyrabbit, spelled phonetically, S like Samuel, I like India, 1 L like Lima, 1 Y like Yankee. So it's Samuel, India, Lima, Yankee for the first 4 letters. It's silly with 1 L. The next part, rabbit. He's blind, he has no eye, just like me. So it's Romeo, Adam, boy, Tom. So it's R as in Romeo, A as in Adam, B as in boy, B as in boy, T as in Tom. And I'll give you it all together now. S as in Sam, I as in India, L as in Lima, Y as in Yankee, R as in Romeo, A as in Adam, double B like boy, boy. Boy, are you bad. Boy, are you bad. Sorry, had to break out of it there for a minute. And T as in Tom. At AOL.com. I figured that last bit you guys could kind of figure out. I don't have to give you the phonetic. Okay, and what you'll be doing is you'll be emailing me what you think of, what you visualize, what you see in your mind's eye when you hear these specific words that I'm going to say. All right? And if I get fewer than 200 responses from the 4,000 of you on the 4 applications, we'll do it again. I get about 400 notes or comments or whatever's from you each week. So that doing 200 responses should be easy. In the line, in the status line or the regarding line of your email or your private message or your direct message, write from the group. That way I'll know you're not a scammer or something like that, okay? The first word, the poor. When you hear Christ say, when you do it for these lesser ones, the poor, the lame, the abandoned, the naked, those in prison or sick, what do you think when he says the poor? If you give water to the poor, if you feed the poor, if you do this, that, the other thing for the poor, or you hear on television or in a radio about helping the poor, What sort of person do you visualize? Are you visualizing always a homeless person? To be poor in your mind, must they be homeless? Must they go to a soup kitchen where there's congregation feeding? Or must they go to a shelter where there's congregation sleeping, but it's an SRO, sleeping room only? Must they be addicted or trying to get over an addiction? And must they be receiving financial aid of some sort? The next one, the lame, is a difficult one because the one that's after it is disabled. So the lame is not the disabled. They are two separate groups. What makes someone lame? How do you classify them in your mind when you hear that word? What makes them lame? Finally, number 3, the elderly. What makes a person among the elderly? Is it mind, attitude, straight out age? If they're over 80, they're old. Where does that number sit for you? Are your parents elderly? Is one elderly and the other one isn't? How do you define elderly? And where do you think that definition comes from? And finally, disabled. Who is disabled in your mind? Do they have to be in a wheelchair to be disabled? Can they not be in a wheelchair and be disabled? For instance, if somebody has a prosthetic leg, is he disabled? If someone walks with crutches 24/7 for years on end, are they disabled? Or not as disabled as the prosthetic leg guy? Who is disabled? Now, dear sisters and brothers, do you want proof that God touched your life? See if you can stoop to bind the wounds of others. If you can, you have a heart beating in your chest. Do not remain indifferent. Do not live a one-way faith, a faith that receives but does not give, a faith that accepts the gift but does not give it in return. Having received mercy, let us now become merciful. For if love is only about us, faith becomes an arid, barren desert. Without others, faith becomes disembodied. Dear sisters and brothers, let us be renewed by the peace, forgiveness, and wounds of the merciful Jesus. Let us ask for the grace to become witnesses of mercy. Only in this way will our faith be alive and our lives be unified. Only if our faith is alive, renewed by peace, forgiveness, and the wounds of the merciful Christ, unified as one body, will we proclaim the gospel of God, which is the gospel of mercy. And those mental images I asked you to create. As I said, open a message in whatever program you're using right now to read or hear me. In YouTube, unless you don't mind everyone and the dog reading the message, put it in the email to me. Samuel, India, Lima, Yankee, Romeo, Adam, boy, Tom, at AOL.com. Describe your imagery. Don't sign your name if you don't wish, but do give me the city and country from which you are writing. I'll tell you about this in a lesson, midweek of the 17th. So I think that's the 16th week. No, it's the 17th week of Ordinary Time. And if after you email it to me or text me, whatever you do with it, if there's something more you want to write about, having thought about it longer, you can send something else too. Don't send me 50 emails, because I won't appreciate that. That'll be like being married again. But do send me a subsequent email to, if you want to fill out the physical image that you had seen the first time, and now the longer it sits, it's becoming more and more full and real to you. You can send that through. That's not a problem. And you can always send me messages. For instance, those who sent me messages about the laughter at the beginning of the gospel yesterday, I'll tell you what that was. My little spade kitten, who wasn't so little anymore, he was on the cat perch in front of the camera. And he can fully stand in front of it and not be in front of the camera, except his tail. So I had pushed him off to the side, and somehow his tail was still in front of the camera lens. And I pushed him to the other side. There's the tail in front of the lens. It was almost as if the end of his tail had a homing device for the front of the lens. And every time I moved him, his tail was in front of the lens. It was getting so funny. I had moved him easily 6 times, and every time I looked, there he is in front of the lens. And we're just laughing. I'm like, oh, come on, pussycat, move. And so when I click go on this app, it will pause 1, 2, 3, beep, go. And he knows that I have the beep for 3 seconds. And then at the last possible second, he ran across the screen with his tail up in the air. And I had to check. He just missed the timing of it. It wasn't in the screen when it went to record, and that's why I was laughing so hard. He wanted so badly for the tip of his tail to again be in the screen. Oh, what a silly puss he is. What a silly puss. May peace be with all of you, and may you each share a laugh with someone today. Bye for now.